Anyway,
He
did a very nice job, and it's a very nice structure, and to be honest with you, I think it's an improvement over the one that we had there from over the last 25 years, so.
Yeah, it should be no maintenance more or less for
Yeah, for a
30 to
while.
50 years.
Yeah.
You know, so.
As long as it doesn't get burned up again.
Well, that's another thing, it's a kind of monolithic type structure, so it's not gonna be as easy to, I think, set on fire if somebody tries. Hopefully not. So.
Yeah. It sure beats the bridge they opened up today down on. Did you guys see that? What, $6 billion.
Oh, the big bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the next one, 150 capital projects. We've adopted a partial budget on this one, 144,000, which included the park bond projects, which had 100% of funding for them. The proposed budget you see here for 277 includes 7 projects that Public Works kind of put together as priority ones we felt as far as maintenance. But we have a complete list of, I think it's around $5.5 million of projects for facilities. These are just Public Works facilities, buildings, parks, cemeteries.
This is the one we've been working on for a couple of years.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just been updated.
I have a question. Memorial Building, this 6111 is, that's the revenues being recycled back through the building. Karen?
The revenues are less than that. The revenues were around 11,000, I think, $11,380. Apparently,
For last year?
correct. That's on page 16 of the revenues.
Okay.
And so, that's a transfer in from general fund.
So as you can see, there's, we have several projects for each facility, kind of earmarked as necessary projects. But the 7 that we kind of threw into this budget, which can be changed or whatever, and realize that these would need a funding source. There's no funding for any of these.
That's this list right here.
That's the full list. As far as what I have in the 277 budget, I've got the park projects, and then in addition to that, we had listed a re-roof of this building for 30,000. Continue on with the public workshop addition, add a restroom and stuff for 10. Re-roof of the Jolly Elders building for 30. Floor out at Standish 4-H building for 10. Restroom floor from the South Lassen Community Building for 15.
Where are you reading from? Is that?
This is part of the, it's probably not in your packet, it's part of the budget that we submit, and it's the projects that add up to the 6,100 line item there. I think it added up to like 85,000 or something like that.
Okay,
Wow.
6100.
It's basically the difference between.
Could we get a copy of that list? Would that be possible?
Yeah. And then the last one was 25,000 for the Seasonal Veterans Building.
So that uses their 1180 revenue plus the balance to come up to 25,000.
Come up with some-
And what are we proposing? Because I know the task force is meeting tomorrow.
The 25,000 was front doors, ADA ramp, that was mainly the design estimate, I guess, right? And then replacement of tables and chairs.
And I know the tables and chairs were budgeted in last year and was in the budget, didn't get done. And I've gotten another text from, wanting to know, is it gonna be possible? I thought Karen, you said that they could do,
There-
I'm not really involved in this one, so
You
I'm
know,
gonna
we were-
defer
you know,
to
there's-
Pete and
When we were in
Julie.
Marty's office and I brought in about.
There's
the-
probably, under our buildings and grounds budget, under the maintenance line item, there's probably some funding there that could be used. Probably not enough to replace.
Everything
Well,
would be,
well, the project was to get all new tables and chairs for the upstairs main floor.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what's
They've been hauling
budgeted
that-
under the
they've been
150.
Yeah.
But as an alternate,
The question
there's probably
is
some-
getting them in place in 2 weeks from now, because there was a big dinner that was scheduled. They were planning on,
I've already told them, don't count on having them.
okay.
And, you know, they've already made, they're gonna use what's existing there. If they need to print different things, they're, you know, trying to expedite moving forward though. with-
How, once we proceed, what is the estimated timeframe for getting the new tables and chairs?
It's gonna depend on which vendor we go with, on that. I'm trying to, I think we've discussed before, the task force meeting. Just trying to get a more durable table and chair setup versus kind of the cheaper ones you can get that you see that are pretty common, that you might see like a Home Depot or something like that. Trying to spec something out that's more of an institutional type chair, so. And table.
I'm having a hard time following, is this just a wish list of things that you can get done?
yes, yes.
It's not only a wish list, it's maintenance of our current county structure
Well, right, but it
that
just
we
gives you-
cannot maintain because we do not have the money.
Right.
Well, but it gives you the idea what kind of money you gotta go out and start looking for.
Exactly, my point. I mean, we can't even maintain what we got, let alone adding to it.
And then one thing to remember, this basically is just our buildings and grounds public works facilities. You won't see the jail on here,
Or juvenile.
juvenile hall, but one stops, I guess.
Yeah, and the one-stops are, yeah, not really, that's another discussion item that department heads probably talk about too. 'Cause currently, I think that's partly budgeted under the economic
MHSA.
development side of things, but then there's reimbursement coming back, so.
I mean, we use some of the MHSA money already in some of them,
Yeah, we don't basically, we'll take care of a minor thing, but
yeah.
we don't budget for staff for maintenance or custodial or anything for those.
That's real pretty good financials then.
Larry, didn't you say that the airport projects were already funded from fuel taxes or?
Yes, a lot of these.
Yeah, there is, yeah, you
Yeah,
got
the aviation.
Yeah. And some of those, let me see, take a quick look at those. Are those page 4?
Yes.
Yeah, and those are the ones that are currently programmed. Let's see. 85,000 for the Hurlong one is programmed. The Ravendale, that white runway is programmed. Those other two for lighting, the money is not programmed for that. And then this other field one that is programmed. So yeah, you would have on those ones would be a 90% reimbursement on those. That would be, I think, the only thing that you would have any sort of offsetting funding for. Everything else would be general funded there. Other than maybe some of the animal shelters.
Park projects too, probably.
Yeah, and the park projects, yeah, basically. That we, well,
Just the
some of those, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just the Janesville, Doyle.
capital projects?
Yeah,
There's been some discussion about remodeling the annex back into the board chamber. Would that be in this budget? There's no appropriation for that. Not on wish list, I'm looking at the proposed budget.
no, the only thing we have is,
It would be budgeted in this account if it were gonna happen.
yes, it would have to be in this one, under, so we have a contract that's basically been put on hold for the engineering on that.
Right, we have the engineer.
Yeah, but that's, yeah, we have not budgeted anything for construction.
And you, Julie, you have somebody budget somewhere else for this, right?
For the engineering design portion, to my knowledge. But there's a $25,000 amount.
So do you have an estimate of what it would cost to get the rough, back of the envelope, engineer's best guess?
Really not, because we're looking at some different technology things, you know, updated, and we haven't even gone and looked at the other sites yet with the engineering firm to look at that. And then how much of that we want to remodel. I mean, I know we're looking at the whole space that's currently previously occupied by the courts, but as you're going forward, you may want to size that footprint down or not, depending on what your costs are coming in at. So, yeah.
$100,000, $200,000?
Yeah, that's maybe. Yeah, ballpark 100,000, I
Yeah,
guess.
I would say that's probably. That's a good estimate.
I'll take it as is. We'll stay here.
What's happening with the old court space in the main courthouse? I know that that's something that we've talked with our district attorney, who's having sitting in the audience right now, and it's been a year since we saw them vacate there, and I think there's some prime office space there that could be better utilized by some of the folks who are dealing with less, functional space. Is there a way to get that moving like right away? We don't,
At this point, I think Harry Munyon, our consultant, has a good portion of the work done. I know he wanted to get some feedback on what the Board of Supervisors offices, some things like that. There's a few little missing pieces, but it's gonna take probably, once we get the budget passed, my time to go back and see where we are with that and try to get that going.
can we schedule that, Mr. Nichols, for in the next month or two? I mean, to have that discussion for the board?
Sure, we probably want to have Mr. Munyon.
What I'm saying,
Yeah, once it's available,
if you've got him work on that, that's kind of the first I've heard that he's zeroed in on that particular part of it. My concern
I think
is,
he needs to probably speak to some of the departments
Yeah.
still, and probably
Sure.
some of the supervisors to get
Sure.
feedback from you.
well, my concern is it's September, and then we got October, and then now you're into November, it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas time, and then before you know it, it's
We've got some
January.
lingering space in the building.
And the thing is that, the whole year has gone by since they moved out in, May of last year. And I was under the impression that, that was kind of, let's start dealing with that, like last fall, with the idea of doing something even in the last fiscal year. And at the rate we're going, I guarantee you, it's gonna be June 30th, and we'll be in, now we're in the next fiscal year, and now 2 years have gone by. And the place is sitting there being underutilized, and you got people in the basement, and what I see is, if the district attorney or his function, maybe they can move into some of the old court office space and give them some room to move, and then maybe some of the space that they're using now on the main floor could be, bring some of those guys out of the basement that work for the assessor. They may not be connected to each other, at least they're on the same floor, and we can eliminate, the health and safety concerns about having offices in the basement of the courthouse has been legendary. So, and then those three or four guys with the assessor's office have been down there forever. And I'm just saying is that it would be helpful to do that. So if we have any idle space, let's use the idle space in the basement, not upstairs.
We'll bring it back to board discussion.
Yeah. I think we need to. We need to take some action on it. And maybe, it doesn't require going in there and renovating and doing all the expense, let's use the space as is if necessary. That's preferred to not using it at all. And I tell you, given the work that we did back in the 90s, and when the judge, they did all the flip-flop and created the space upstairs, there was some money put into that, and there's some, I think some fairly nice office space available that,
To say the least.
yeah, to say the least.
The corner office.
Exactly, and if it could be beneficial for a department use, the space that may need some, major work on it would be Retta's old office downstairs on the main floor. That space there, but, a lot of that was put in back in the '70s, and last time I was in there, it looked like it was relatively inexpensive paneling.
It was charming. It was vintage charm.
Vintage truck. What I'm saying is, it was probably 2x4 construction with some paneling in it. Maybe some of that could be cleared out. You could just create an open work environment like you have downstairs in the basement. And the assessor guys down there probably would be thrilled to death with it. You don't even have to paint it for them.
All they need is a window.
Yeah. Well, they have a window.
They have a window, but it's
Their
way up
window is
there,
like
yeah,
up
I know,
there,
right.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? We're gonna keep moving this. On the capital projects, you're at Fund 150. Everybody pretty,
I have a comment before we leave that one.
okay.
I just wanted to point out that, and I've had this discussion with Larry and Pete, that the Fund 150 is in the red right now by $45,000. So something needs to happen there. Either we fund that from somewhere, we can't budget them to end up in the hole. So we either need to make a plan, it's the board's discretion to either fund it or cut, and if you're going to look at making cuts to that, there's only really 2 line items I see that you can do that. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that, so this is something we need to address before we adopt the budget.
Never get 40,000 in the hole.
Well,
There-
45,000 in the hole is 15,000 carried over from last
Correct.
year. So
Right.
it's really only 30,000 additional spending than what.
Some of those projects are reimbursable with the park fund, right? I mean, like Lead Lake, and there are a couple, just a few tail ends.
Yes.
left.
Basically, all the revenue that's in here, I believe,
Is on
is
the
from park
revenue page,
projects.
yes,
Right,
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 exactly.
right.
I agree.
And then there was a few projects last fiscal year that were funded, any other funding anyway. And I think what happened is, toward the end of the fiscal year, that under revenue wasn't moved over to 150, the balance amount.
So the income is like a 247.
The 2 line items that are
277.
not tied to park projects would be the building and improvements miscellaneous and the Susanville Memorial Building. The other projects, to my understanding, are tied to, and the,
The bathroom.
Public Works.
So anything under the
Yes.
county parks, those are all reimbursed.
Right.
so 3 lines.
Except for the Beaver Park,
No, that's
not a reimbursement.
no. I think there's about 85,000 of this
Yeah.
that we need revenue.
So how much in the hole would you say is?
$45,020.
That's not reimbursable. There's no revenue coming in to cover that.
Correct.
Correct.
Well, before we slash, we'll go through the.
Right,
and
oh,
we
yeah,
come
we're not
back and
slash.
we have to find 45,000, but you're
Duly
right, I mean,
noted.
that needs to be made
Right.
whole in terms of a transfer or
Funding
cutback,
of some
so,
sort.
De-emphasize.
yeah, de-emphasize.
Well,
Thank you, Julia, I'm glad you brought that part in.
Okay, I think that it. Should we-
Can't wait to get home and de-emphasize some of my wife, so.
That is a much more difficult process, I can assure you.
I think you need to quit while you're ahead, because I can tell you, she probably de-emphasized you before you even de-emphasize her.
And what, and both ways.
Which was get de-emphasized.
Oh, I have no area then.
I think we're getting close.
Come on, Chairman.
Yep.
The only other things we have
Yep.
would be the 570, 571, 572.
Right.
That's the transportation one.
That's the commission.
That's
Right.
commission and
Exactly.
and the agencies.
It looks like I misfiled, I just asking Larry about geothermal. We need to move geothermal to 174 fund to planning.
Right, exactly.
So if you want to put that in the right numeric
Right.
place in section 9,
I didn't think Larry was gonna address that.
section 7. So it would
Anybody
go,
have any questions? Mr. Lar? Seeing none then, I think we'll call the day complete.
Mr. Chairman, on
Yes, go
the, on the
ahead.
schedule for
Yes,
tomorrow,
right.
you know, I just told the district attorney that he's guaranteed the 9 o'clock time, so we'll put Maury at the end, 3